Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
Welcome everybody back to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. I'm Paul and I'm here with my awesome co-host Tania. How are you going?
I'm wonderful today, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Wonderful. I'm so excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about the top 5 ways to grow your NDIS business. And I know whenever we talk about growth and marketing, it's one of the most downloaded podcasts that we do. So we've put together one today that talks about all the ways we think you can grow your business, or not all, just the 5 top ways to grow your business for us to chat through today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, going through these 5 is really important. Not all of them are going to relate to everybody who's listening, but I'll bet everybody could take away a couple of these and go, you know what, I should look into that thing maybe over the next, 3 months or so. What do I need to learn? What do I need to look into? And, saying that, one of those first things is looking at, growing into other registration groups, for some providers, when you have your business in a place where what you're doing works and you've got those systems in place, looking at adding then additional services in other registration groups is a great way to add more services. Obviously we've talked about having that niche, finding that one ideal client for that growth phase. But when you're at a point where your business is really good to go and things are working, adding those other services can be a fantastic way to, either support your current clients in more ways or, be referred clients who also like what you do but don't need the service you're currently doing. You can add more there. So you might not need to, find new clients all the time, but just continue to service new clients, current clients who maybe their services are they're changing. They've had a review. They need a higher level of support. All those sorts of things, but can also help you really get into that that space in the market where you are becoming that, I guess, a bit of a catch-all. But obviously, some of those areas, you may not have the staff with the required qualifications. Obviously, if you're going into new registration groups, that's probably going to require you to do another audit, and it might change your audit cycle there. But, leaning into that registration groups, Tania, I'm wondering, could you give us a bit more of a in-depth look into what that would look like if someone's to go through and actually add more registration groups to grow their business?
Yeah, of course. So there is a process if you want to add and change registration groups. So it's a process of notifying the NDIS Commission. You might need to go through an audit process, but it would just be against any changes. So if you were increasing into different modules or if you're changing from verified to certified, there's a bit of a process. So going into other registration groups can be costly, but I think why lots of people do this is that once you've got a core target market, it means that you're kind of extending services and you've got a market already to go to. So you don't need to worry about the cost of acquisition of getting a new client. And I know you said it kind of creates a catch-all, but I guess it depends on how you niche your business, because if you've decided you work with children with autism, as an example, you can add other supports but still focus on children with autism.
Oh, absolutely,
if you've decided that you only do complex nursing care, then you could still add complementary registration groups. So you can still do complex nursing care. And if all your participants have that, maybe you do respite that's specifically for people with complex nursing supports. So I think it's just being really clear about what registration groups are needed and what do your actual clients need, and then how do you
100%.
work out, how do you expand more services to them. So I think there is a process, obviously, but I think for this one, this tip kind of is the first thing I see providers try. They go, okay, I've done core and community access. I'm now going to go into SIL, or I'm now going to go into nursing, or I'm now going to go into support coordination. And they're extending their services while helping the same client base. That kind of seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I look at it as like if a mechanic is, servicing cars, they may add car parts or, other bits and pieces related to car. They're not now going to go and become a pharmacy, right? So we need to, if you are going to extend services, it's got to be to those clients that you are servicing. So you're helping them with more or helping them with deeper services or whatever that might look like.
Yeah. The second way to grow a business that we're going to talk about today is growing geographically. So this is really expanding your reach into other areas. And the advantage of that is that you're really utilizing your brand and your current successes, your current processes, your current skills within the business, just to go, okay, I'm currently operating in Sydney. I'm now going to also operate in Melbourne or Wollongong or Perth, wherever you think there is a gap in the market. So I think when you're growing geographically, you need to really have a business model that's already working and is profitable in one place. And then you're using that profit to set up that business again, basically, but you're shortcutting the process. You're not starting from scratch because you know what works, what doesn't work. You've got your processes and systems in place 100%. And you're replicating it in a new geographical area. I think that the challenge with growing geographically is that you will need to hire more staff. You'll need more structures in place to monitor things like quality. And you might need to consider what your staff culture and things like reporting works when you aren't able to actually physically be on site. So like a lot of people start, let's say, with community access and the business owner sits in that chair. And if someone calls in sick, the business owner can just drive to that shift. But that's not going to be the case if you're, depending how far geographically you're going. So you really need to look at what management structures do you have in place. Does this actually put a lot of pressure on your business because you need to create a whole management level that you don't need if you're only expanding one suburb as opposed to another state or another city or regionally? So I think having a look at processes and structure and a bit of a workforce plan is always something that's really smart to do when you're looking at new geographical area. And my advice there would be really to have a look at the demand map and have a look at where is the demand for your current service and go and spend 100%. A little bit of time there, driving around, speak to other people, go to networking events in those areas to see what the gaps are on the ground. What would your advice be, Paul, around going geographically?
Look, I think it's a great way that, if you have your system set up, your business works, then there's no reason why you can't then go, right, well, maybe we've sort of reached our capacity for this area, or whatever it might be. If we move to another area, is there need there? Great. Yes, there's need there. Fantastic. That's number one thing sorted. Can we get staff there? Yes. Awesome. Then will our systems transfer to those same types of clients? Because we've already got a really good base which works here. Kind of like taking this box of our business and installing it in another space works really well, provided the business works really well. I have seen people try to do this when they're not at the stage of their business operating efficiently. They've still got a lot of, whether it be staffing issues or process issues, and things can fall apart really quickly, especially if you're relying on someone. So I think it's really important that people get the things right first, but it's a fantastic way to grow your business a bit faster if things are working really well. So definitely worth looking at. One of the next ways I really love, and it's probably one of my favorite, is really creating those strategic partnerships that, move your business forward because you're working in joint venture. You've got those alliances with other businesses, both similar, complementary, but also, that fill other holes as well. Finding, experts to be able to input into your business that, do things that you don't do, or obviously improve the things that you do. So you might be able to, collaborate and expand your client base because you're working with someone who does different services to you. I had a similar conversation with a client this morning who was saying, we do X, Y, and Z. We've just sort of partnered up with a business that does, A, B, and C. And so they're working together, not being the same business, but they refer easily between each other. Their clients have those similar requirements. And so it's a really seamless process. Also, it means you don't have to be the expert yourself in every situation. You need to know what's really important for your clients with the services you offer. But if somebody else does something different, bring in an expert, like someone who is their expert to what happens with that, what they do. But it also means that you're not the be all and end all. You can share that workload and the costs, particularly when you look at events. We've had some providers this year get together and put on events, whether they be like a fair or a networking event or like a big day out type of party. We've got a few providers together and been able to share the load in helping a lot of people en masse. Obviously, with everything, there's things you need to look at, and some of those things will be like ensuring that you guys have trust in place and you guys have actually spoken through how things will work. So you're going to minimize those risks. But it also means probably sharing profits or clients or whatever it is. So you can't go into that with the idea of this is all going to just benefit me, because it will benefit everybody, and you've got to work that out. Do you see any other sort of areas in that strategic partnership that you've experienced with clients?
I think strategic partnerships is a great way to grow your business because, as you said, you're leveraging someone else's client base. So I think that works really well. I've seen some great examples of that in my clients, such as a support coordinator who partners up with a core supports provider, and they don't work together, but they refer clients between each other, or even someone who does. So recently I have a client who is an RN and does nursing supports, but they're really not specialists in ventilator. So they outsource that to an expert in that space so they can market to their clients, they can do these services, and they refer those clients on. And vice versa. If that provider has clients that are lower level, they would refer them through. So I think that those strategic partnerships are great. I also have seen people who might go to, so I've got 2 clients at the moment who are both Queensland based. They do similar services, and they both wanted to move interstate, and so they've actually done that together. So both businesses started, but they did that through joint resources. And so that sounds like it is a business partnership. They both are registered in that state, but they're sharing one staff member, and both of their services. So both of their services are being advertised, but that they're sharing the cost of that staff member as their first hire in that new city. So I think things like that can really be cost effective. We do a lot of joint marketing together, Paul. You and I, we've run events together, and that's been a way that we can, get in front of each other's client database. And when I speak of you, people have already potentially met you, so it makes that introduction a lot easier. And I think it's actually just also a really good way to cover off what we spoke about in previous episodes about building that network of professionals, and having other people that you're creating those friendships and professional network with. The next one, number 4 to talk about today, is mergers and acquisitions. And so this might not be something that everyone's thought about, but it actually can be a really great way to grow your business. It can be an easy way to capture market share and instantly increases the value of the business by acquiring another business. So you, instead of going and marketing and organically growing 10, 50, 100 new participants, you can buy another provider in that space, take on their client base, and grow your business in a new area, in your same area, in a new, in an area you might not be familiar with. And by doing that, you're getting their processes, their IP, their client database, their staffing, their resources. If they've got profits coming in, you're automatically receiving those profits. But obviously, It can be costly. You've got to think about legal fees. And of course, you need to make sure that you're doing some good due diligence on that. But if you can do those things, mergers and acquisitions can actually be a really great way to grow in the space.
Absolutely. I've had a couple of clients go through this process and, taking a business which is really, really healthy, doing really well, and then essentially putting that model onto another business is a great way to sort of duplicate your business. Whether you actually go through the effort of changing the name or you keep it as is, to spread the marketing or whatever it is, it's a great way to bring on staff, bring on clients, have a market share in a new area or the same area even, and grow. You could double your business overnight with that type of process, but you've got to have the backup processes as well. How do we make sure that, the staff stay? How do we make sure that the clients stay? Those sort of things need to be built into the background of that as well, which is really important. There's always people who are, really good at what they do, but they've gotten a bit tired with trying to run a business that they really weren't set up to do. As I've said before, there's lots of people in the industry at the moment who are running businesses who would actually make really, really good managers because they're fantastic at what they do. They love the people. They have incredible technical skill in their services and the background, but running the business is a different animal to being in the business. And so, there are spaces like that where someone who is really good at that business process can come in and go, you know what? We could take this off your hands and you could actually still run it. You could be the manager and do all the things you want to do. And we've actually had people go through and do that, which is a lot of fun. I think one of the other things people, have actually looked at before, and we've had these conversations. Number 5, it's a really big one, and you really want to make sure you've got a lot of background to do it, but really looking at those other schemes that are available through the government, like aged care and the veteran scheme and those sort of things, because you can use a very similar model with different government funding, and you can also, minimize that risk with that funding source. So staying on top of those things, that there's other services that are available, which might complement what you do really well, may just be the next evolution of what you do, because once you've got those things in place, it's a great place to go. But obviously with anything, there's some pros and cons. It can add, multiple layers of compliance and approvals you've got to work with, but also, the costs associated with, managing those requirements and the application fees. So, and also, are other staff required as well? So with anything, pros and cons, but if you're set up for these sort of things, it can be a great way to, break into a new area of the market or a new clientele who don't have NDIS funding, but maybe they are, in the aged care model or the veterans model or any of those others that are available as well.
Yeah. And there's so many schemes out there. And I'm always surprised that many providers have never heard of the other schemes. And for me, who's worked in regulated spaces for my whole career, I've always tried to, when I'm working in a provider or I'm running a business, I've always tried to make sure that I am not tied to just one funding bucket, because as a business owner, there is a lot of risk there. If they decide to make fundamental changes to the NDIS tomorrow, that is changing 100% of your business model, right? And so if you are able to minimize that risk by being under a few government schemes, the chance of them changing all of the government schemes at once is really small.
Yes.
I worked for a large not-for-profit for many years called MEGT. And they are an RTO, a group training organisation, apprenticeship centre, and they have an ELICOS college. They do multiple things. And their CEO was CEO for about 35 years, amazing man called David Windridge, and he helped me get the job there in the first place, and he was always so kind every time that I saw him. And I would often say to him, because they had multiple business units and all of them were regulated by different regulators, I'd always say to him, how is it going? And he'd be like, well, the apprenticeship centre is down, but the RTO is up. and the RTO is down, but the ELICOS is up. So between all of those funding buckets and all of those movements, something was always going well and in good steams with the government, and something was always on the back foot and they had moved funding around. And so by having so many funding buckets, they could consistently run a business for, it's been going for at least 50 years, I believe, and be able to be sustainable in a very government funded sector, where in each of those spaces, if you're just an apprenticeship centre, that contract's renewed every 3 years, and over 3 years, in 3 years' time, your whole business can be gone. And the same with an RTO. Yes. Funding contracts can be 3 years or 5 years. Your registration can be 3 years or 5 years or 7 years. And so by thinking about that as an NDIS provider, think about what's your core business do, and then thinking about what are other ways you can get money for that. Can you do it fee for service like you can home care? There's also the eye care funding. There's funding for veterans. There's voluntary out-of-home care, which is specifically for children. It's a New South Wales specific funding, but most states have other funding outside of NDIS for people with disability or for vulnerable communities. And that's the area you're playing in. It's kind of like, if you're an SDA provider, you should also be thinking about how can you house other people? Is it just disability that you can house, or can you build houses for SIL? Can you build houses for veterans? Can you think of something like the Foyer Foundation that does innovative homes for youth, homeless youth? So there's all these other programs that are out there. You shouldn't just be limiting yourself to the NDIS. It does add complications and compliance, but if you've got money and you're looking at growth and looking where to invest those dollars, I would think that would be a great thing to do to minimize the risk that being funded under the NDIS poses to every business. Okay, well, that's kind of it for today. I think my wrap up for today was just, again, covering those 5 areas. So today we spoke about growing your service with new registration groups, growing geographically, growing with strategic partnerships, using mergers and acquisitions, and then looking at other complementary schemes in the space. And that's our top 5 tips really for growing your space, growing your NDIS business this year. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that, Paul?
Oh, look, I think, anybody who's listening to this knows that there are many ways to grow. These are the ways that we sort of looked at and go, you know what, if you are in a position to really push things ahead, this is a great way to do it. But also I would just say, make sure that you have those foundations in place. And that's why we're here to help you with the podcast. So guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you had a great time listening to this. Maybe you learned something new about the way you could be heading with your business. But guys, listen in. We're looking forward to you back again next week with the next episode of the Profitable Provider Podcast. Goodbye from me, and I'll see you later, Tania.
See you later. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast with Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.